Hey folks, it's Lorraine Smith here with the Weekly Letter. This week, we're going to talk to Big Ag about what it will take to grow a healthy food system. This is prompted both by what's going on in my local community and in prep for the Materiality workshop series coming up, Redefining Corporate Purpose, in which I'll be making my own materiality assessment working out loud with the other participants. Here's a quick look at why, what that looks like, and what happens next. Big Ag, it's time to grow healthy food. That's why a new materiality assessment is in the making. Food systems that destroy biodiversity aren't healthy food systems. It's an open secret that modern agriculture uses harmful chemicals on monoculture commodity crops. Agricultural producers are incentivized to use products that are toxic to soil organisms, to plants, birds, and of course, to us humans, the creatures growing and eating the food. Sustainability reports tell us these products are key to feeding the world. But we know in our hearts, minds, and guts that soil deserts and toxic runoff does not serve life. This is really about feeding the financial bottom line. Meanwhile, producers who resist this approach face pressure to adopt practices that harm biodiversity and decrease the nutritional value of foods, or to abandon farming altogether. And consumers struggle to find and afford foods produced in ways that regenerate soils, ecosystems, and healthy human gut microbiomes. The rising toxic load is affecting my community. It's likely affecting yours too. Pollinators are dying from a hornet's nest of problems. No one wants to hear about bee colonies collapsing. It's overwhelming and it's complicated. It's like kicking a hornet's nest. How not to panic? How to even begin to understand what's happening, much less how to change it systemically and at scale. My answer to that is we simply begin. We carve out time and space to understand one piece and then another, using the tools we have and creating new ones as needed. We home in on where we have agency and impact. Those of us working in and with global industry step up and get real about the impacts of continuing on this track, and we do what we can to change it. Raging against the machine only gets us so far. I prefer to walk alongside the machine to see about draining its fuel tank and repurposing its metal and its metal. Local farmers and eaters in my community are talking about these agricultural troubles, and it's nowhere close to unique to where I live. Perhaps you're hearing similar too. In spite of an appetite for change, we keep hitting up against the fact that there are many interconnected aspects to this food system dilemma. To name a few, many global regulations privilege large-scale commodity agriculture. Greenwash confuses consumers into seeing ecologically devastating plant-based products as environmentally preferable to foods from holistically raised animals. Land prices are skyrocketing beyond the range of undercapitalized producers. Non-producers with capital to invest often don't distinguish the truly regenerative practices from those that check the sustainable agriculture boxes and claim to help feed the world using climate-smart ag tech and the like. Meanwhile, ever more chemicals wash into our food system, more ineffective sustainable agriculture initiatives surface in response, and global companies push for greater profits through even more industrial influence on soil, seed, labor, and distribution, all in the name of, you guessed it, feeding the world. Meanwhile, eaters of the world get sicker and more confused about what to eat. Rinse, repeat. What to do? Change. I don't propose to solve this single-handedly. I do propose an alternative to the current approaches that may offer a bridge of sorts, also known as Materiality, a free open-source methodology to assess corporate practice in relation to what is needed to serve life. And I'm putting my proposition into practice. As the facilitator and guide in the upcoming Materiality workshop series, Redefining Corporate Purpose, I'll be creating a new materiality assessment alongside participants creating their own deep dives into the companies they choose. My assessment will be on a global agribusiness company. I'm guessing you haven't heard of this company that I'll be assessing, and for the moment, I'll keep you in suspense. Unless you're joining the workshop series, in which case you're about to receive more info on this and more as we get ready to kick off later this month. This is part of how I'll support local farmers, many of whom are concerned about increasing pesticide use, collapsing pollinator populations, and lack of access to local markets. So my research will offer additional corporate, investor, and national policy context that will help inform work on the ground. I recognize that farmers have a huge stake in farming decisions. My research is just one small piece of a bigger puzzle that may inform action. And although I think of this as a local commitment, I see the importance and the effects of this industry everywhere. They're literally in all of our bodies, with very few, possibly no exceptions. Seed planted. Along with supporting the way forward as best I can for my own local community, this assessment will also inform my response letter to Canada's climate policy leaders, since sustainable agriculture is a big part of that conversation. There's a lot more to unearth and many rows to hoe before industrial agriculture is anywhere close to working with life's principles. But these are changes we can make. And that's what I'll be working on alongside an incredible group of international changemakers in the weeks ahead as we dive in, get messy, and get real. I'll keep you posted as sprouts emerge. Yours in connectedness, Lorraine. By the way, there's still time to join that workshop. It's kicking off on February 24th, so depending on when you hear this, if you're interested, please get in touch. Thanks for walking alongside, folks. If this is of interest to someone you know, I hope you'll be happy to share it with them directly or pop it into your socials. If you aren't already receiving my weekly letter, I hope you'll sign up at blorrainesmith.com. If you have any feedback or questions, I'd love to hear from you. Looking forward to keeping in touch. See you next week. Bye for now.